Hello, everyone, and welcome to Body Bags. I will be your reviewer for today. I am the Nightwalker from Horror Heaven77, and I thought I don't know why, but I've been sitting here thinking about it. I really would like to try to talk about the 2009 made-for-TV Sci-Fi Channel remake of Children of the Corn, and I don't know. This has just been kind of sticking around in my head lately, and just kind of thought I'd like to talk about it. The thing is like when I was a little kid, I believe the original Children of the Corn came out in 1984, and my parents took me and my brothers to go see it. And when I first saw it, yeah, it scared me pretty good. But at the same time, I was really energized by it. And funny little story, I remember my grandparents, they bought a VHS player long before we did, and there was talk about me and my brothers going to spend the weekend with them, and so we went down there, and she rented the VHS tape for me, and I watched it a few times. I got homesick because I was a little kid, first time really being away from home, so I got homesick. So I was watching it quite a bit, and my family remembers that. So, so nowadays, if I go to my family's house, I can't bring up Children of the Corn. They hate it. They don't even want to talk about it. It's like, oh God, as many times as you watched that movie. Excuse me. But anyway, yeah, here about 2009, they did a remake. The movie is co-written and directed by Donald P. Borchers, who is actually a producer of the original Children of the Corn. And if you watch the behind the scenes, he explains that he decided that he wanted to remake the movie because simply when he did the original movie, he was a young, brash producer, and he decided that and rather than just follow King's story, follow his narrative, and keep it close to the short story, he decided he wanted to make some changes to it and make the movie a little more Hollywood, um, make the movie a little bit more commercial. And in the sense, he said that he realizes now that a lot of the decisions he made were not good ones, or that's what he felt. But a lot of the decisions he made were not good ones, and Stephen King was very unhappy with the movie, and he felt, he said that he believed that King felt that the real message of his short story got lost in translation being turned into the film, and Borchers apparently agreed with him, and that's why he decided he wanted to go ahead and redo the movie. Now the movie stars David Anders, who mostly I think his biggest thing that everybody knows him from is he played Blaine on the TV show iZombie for 5 seasons, and Kandyse McClure, I think, or Kandyse McClure of Battlestar Galactica plays. They play Bert and Vicky, who in the original movie was portrayed by Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton. And you're going to find out if you start watching this movie, even though it follows the same path as the original movie, you're going to find out there's quite a number of differences. One thing being, in the original movie, they really wanted to try to make the characters of Bert and Vicky more likable, and they really wanted to try to make them more sympathetic. So in the original movie, you have Bert and Vicky. They care about each other, they love each other, but Bert, he's a little bit chicken when it comes to the idea of marriage, and Vicky apparently wants nothing more in the world than to be his wife. Now the difference in this movie is in this movie, Bert and Vicky, they're already married, and same thing in the short story. Bert and Vicky, they're already married, and the two of them can't stand each other. I mean, it's like these two they're both just a couple of powder kegs waiting to explode. They can't. The whole point of this too, they're driving. Sort of like the original movie. They're driving through Nebraska. Going through Gatlin and all that stuff, and the idea was this was supposed to be kind of a second honeymoon for them. And the idea if they spend some time together, maybe they can fall in love again and reconnect. But no, we come to find out these two they're just at each other all the time. And, and there is a little bit of a prologue at the beginning of this movie, similar to the original movie, but, you don't have that infamous, coffee shop diner massacre like what you had in the beginning of the original movie. In this movie, we have this young boy. He's preaching, and talking about he who walks behind the rose and saying that that they need to follow him if they want to you know sorry, my throat's dry. But yeah, they need to follow him if they want to have their crops back, if they want to survive and they want to eat and everything else. And so they need to make sacrifices, to the he who walks behind the rose, so on and so forth. And then, the message gets out that the kids need to kill the parents and so on, So anyway, so it's 3 years later and all this. And, similar to the original movie, you have a boy trying to get away from them and he gets caught by Malachi. And in this one here, I'll get to Malachi and Isaac in just a minute, but he's trying to get away. His throat's been cut. He runs out into the road. Bert and Vicky, they're too busy, biting each other's heads off that they, by the time they see the kid in the road, it's way too late to do anything about it. And Bert hits the kid and, runs him over. And so, but, rather than kind of, in this version, rather than understanding that it was an accident, that Bert never really meant to hit the little boy, in this version, Vicky basically just starts screaming at him and yelling at him and cursing him out and saying he's going to go to jail. The thing is like Bert ended up doing like 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. And, he did one, came home, and she was pissed that he went back and did a second tour of duty in Vietnam. And so she's holding that against him. But so anyway, so she's screaming that, what are you going to do, John Wayne? And so he turns around, he hits her and, trying to get her to calm down. And she's like, you're going to jail. And he's like, yeah, you're rabid and all this stuff. So that's one thing you're definitely going to notice in this version of the movie is that Bert and Vicky are not nearly, they're not nearly as likable and they're not nearly at the chemistry that Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton had in the original movie. I mean, even though, there were moments in the original movie where they kind of argued and stuff, but it's not like this. In this movie here, the two of them are about ready to just, full out beat the hell out of each other. That's how bad it is. So similar to the original movie, Bert, he decides he's going to go check into the cornfield, see if he can see anybody. And so, he turns around, they put the boy's corpse in the car trunk and they decide, well, we'll go to Gatlin. We'll see if we can get a hold of the police. So, so they go there, they find out, that the town is, desolate, but, the children are kind of running around and then chaos ensues. And of course, similar to the original movie, Vicky gets taken by Malachi. We meet Isaac. Isaac, I believe the boy's name who played Isaac was Preston Bailey. I think that's the name of the actor. He played the young, I forget the boy's name, but he was Rita's son on Dexter. So that's where I know him from. The actor who played Malachi, that was kind of the thing. And I understood why they were doing this because, in the story, I think it was meant that King wrote that, the characters of Isaac and Malachi were meant to be, just kind of regular kids, and that was supposed to be even scarier. That they were just supposed to look like your average, normal children, boys next door kind of kids. And if you see there, Isaac there is clearly a kid. Malachi just looks like, your typical, teenage boy. And, I believe that was supposed to be scary. But I do feel that just my opinion, that doesn't really work here. I think that was kind of the thing. In the original movie, they got John Franklin to play Isaac and they got Courtney Gaines to play Malachi. And that just worked so much better. Those two, their look was distinct. They, just had something about them. They had a presence and a chemistry with them. These two just really, they don't have it. They just come off as kind of kids, which I understood that's supposed to be the idea. It's supposed to be scarier, but it doesn't work. No. Yeah, I have to say John Franklin and Courtney Gaines, they win in the creepy, scary department. Those two, they really did great playing the baddies in the original movie, where these kids are just kind of there. Yeah, this movie here, I'm going to try not to give away too many spoilers, but the main difference between this movie and the original, the one thing I can say good about this movie is that it does very much follow King's short story a lot closer than the original movie did. They did change some elements from the original movie when they made the original movie. The whole thing about Bert and Vicky, they're ready to divorce. They can't stand each other. They're at the end of their marriage, and everything. That was in the short story. It wasn't, you know, that was the thing. I saw the movie before I ever read the short story, so I was actually pretty shocked when I found out, that the short story and the original movie were night and day difference. So, but that is kind of like the one real compliment I can give this movie is that it really does follow King's short story a lot closer. And as a matter of fact, King is actually credited as co-writer of the screenplay, which, believe it or not, from what I understood, they tried to contact Stephen King to endorse this version, which King would not do. He just flat out refused to do it. So he had nothing. He contributed nothing to the movie. So, but that was the thing. Ultimately, that's what this ended up being. That's why this was made, because Donald Borchers thought that he really should have stuck to King's original narrative and keep it the dark. And that's the thing. This movie here, it's a lot darker. It's a lot more mean spirited. The ending is much more of a downer than it was in the original movie. But so, and I know this movie gets a lot of hate. A lot of people can't stand this. They like the original movie better. And I get that because I prefer the original movie myself. I've watched that movie a bunch of times, and I love that movie. I think it's great. But this one here, like I said, I don't like it as much, but I do appreciate it in the fact that it is trying to be true to King's original story, to be true to King's original vision. So I can give it credit for that. But I have to admit, I got this sitting on the shelf right next to my original Children of the Corn, and a lot of the times if I'm in the mood to watch the movie, I'll grab the original more times than I'll grab this one. But still, though, yeah. Yeah, sorry. This one, just not as good. Just not as good. But, you know, I much prefer the original one. One thing that I think is great is that they got Jonathan Elias back to do the music score for this, which was great. And he does do variations of his original score from the original movie, which is cool. It does feel like a Children of the Corn film, and it does, fit the vibe and done pretty well, I think. But just, oh man, just, they made, so even though they changed some of the decisions when they made the original movie, some of those decisions they made were better decisions. Like I said, like the whole casting of John Franklin and Courtney Gaines, that was genius on their part, because those two really gave that movie something. I think, like the two of them, their presence in that movie kind of really elevated it up to something a little bit more special. I think that's one of the reasons why the original movie has such a huge cult status. Whereas this one here, this one kind of just got swept under the rug. And I think a lot of people would much rather just pretend this movie doesn't even exist. But yeah, if you're into dark, mean-spirited, scary religious films, and yeah, check this out. And if you're not happy with the way the original movie is done, you don't like the kind of more brighter ending that the original movie had, then check this one out. Because like I said, this movie here, it's a lot darker and a lot grittier than the original film. But so anyway, so yeah, that's gonna pretty much do it. Yeah, not the biggest fan of this in the world, but I can sit through it. I see a lot worse remakes than this, but Nightmare on Elm Street, When a Stranger Calls, The Fog. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Psycho. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna stop. But yeah, this one's not very great either. But yeah, I already heard supposedly they're wanting to remake this one again. I've heard that before too. So, so anyway, so that's gonna do it. So if anybody took the time to watch the video, I thank you for doing it. And I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like on the video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Body Bags channel. We have a different video every day of the week. I'm the Saturday reviewer. We got 7 guys. Everybody's doing great stuff. Good quality videos, good entertaining videos, insightful reviews. So yeah, be sure to check everybody out. And take care. And I'll see you next week when it's Halloween theme week. So we're going to be doing the Halloween franchise. So that's going to be fun. So stick around for that. Take care. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.